Welcome back to the River City Roundup here at Jefferson's, and also we're sponsored by Fame. We're really excited to do the show here every week, and now we're at week 8 or 9 of the season. It's almost playoff time here in Tennessee, and we've had just an incredible season. Just some absolute shockers to some bit of disappointments. But tonight on the Roundup, we'll have our scoreboard from last week, our players of the game from last week. We'll also give you our power rankings from this season on. And we'll also have a preview of our matchups next week, including our game of the week as Cleveland takes on Ooltewah, who is no doubt about it, one of the best teams in the area. And Cleveland's slowly coming back into the area. Now, guys, we'd like to chime in on anything about what are you excited for to see in this game coming up this week?
Taylor, what are you excited about?
For Cleveland Ooltewah, I really would like to see the progression of Kelvin Leon from last week moving into this week, playing a Cleveland team that's really starting to get into stride now during the season. And also, I'd like to see what Cleveland can do. I saw them earlier in the season when they played McCallie and weren't playing their best football, and I just like to see how they progress to this point now.
What about you, John? What are you interested to see going on forward?
Thinking just strictly on week 9, Jake, you got to like Notre Dame traveling to Coalfield. Coalfield's got an outstanding offensive lineman in Zach Stewart, 4-star offensive lineman committed to the University of Tennessee at Knoxville. Not saying Notre Dame's had any give-me wins, but they've had 2 wins the past 2 weeks where they really haven't been tested. They're going to play Coalfield, ranked team in the state with a good offensive line, sitting at 5-3, and really like what Notre Dame. We'll speak on what Notre Dame's done the past couple of weeks, but I really am looking forward to Notre Dame taking that next step into winning and potentially locking down that number 1 seed in the East or a number 2 seed with Alcoa still up there in Knoxville, because that's something that Coach Fant really, emphasized to me this spring when we spoke about how important it is as Notre Dame gets a good seed as they can host the playoffs at their home.
What about you, Ron? What you came from? What besides the Cleveland Ooltewah game are you interested in seeing?
Well, guys, I'm really excited about the Signal and Greenville matchup coming up. Signal Mountain, we all know they had a tough loss against Notre Dame. They kind of got the ball rolling again last week against CCS. I like to see how they handle a huge state power in Greenville coming down to the mountain and see how they can play without Sky Wilson back in the backfield.
I'd agree with you, Ryan, on that one. I'm really interested to see Greenville and Signal Mountain because these are both really good football teams. Signal, yes, they have a different way to approach their offense without Sky Wilson, who's done for the season and won't be back till possibly even halfway through next year. And it will be interesting to see how this offensive line and how the running game for Signal Mountain really progresses. Maybe we'll see a Teeter throw the ball more because he's got the targets to throw it to. So it'll be interesting to see what Coach Price and everyone does up there at Signal. But when we come back, we'll also talk a little basketball. Well, I forgot a little back. We'll bring in our insider Zach Kirby because basketball season is literally around the corner.
One chance in life to do whatever you're going to do, to lay your foundation, to make whatever mark you're going to make, whatever legacy you're going to leave your legacy.
Welcome back to the Roundup here at Jefferson's, and now let's give it a little bit of a week. We'll recap last week, week 8. Brainerd took on Tyner. Brainerd's looking pretty solid right now. Brainerd wins 33-24 against Tyner, and our game of the week last week, Hickson and Red Bank. That was the best defensive game I've seen all year. Hickson wins 17-13 after Red Bank had a 13-0 lead at the end of the first quarter. East Hamilton took on Soddy Daisy. East Hamilton coming up big, 43-27. Brentwood Academy and Baylor, one of the biggest games of the week. Brentwood Academy squeaks by Baylor 38-31. Whitwell took on Sale Creek, and Sale Creek still winless in the program's history. They lose 42-0. And then Silverdale took on Grace Academy. Silverdale was a little bit too much for the Tenacious 20 as they took them out 38-31. South Pitt took on Lookout Valley, and South Pitt, high-scoring game for them. They win 64-20. Signal Mountain took on CCS. Signal Mountain still trying to bounce back from that loss, and they do. They win 31-14 over a CCS team that's coached by Coach Spence. And then Boyd Buchanan. Talk about a team that's hot right now. Boyd Buchanan, they absolutely dismantled Copper Basin 41-0. And then Notre Dame, they're on a high streak right now. They haven't been tested since Signal, but they did take on Sequatchie County. Not a bad, a good team, but they won 35-7 against Sequatchie. Then Chattanooga Central against Howard. Chattanooga Central's got some new formula now because they're putting up points now. They won 49-0 against Howard. And then Bradley took on McMinn County. Bradley getting the big win, 49-32. Cleveland, they're on a hot streak as well. They won 24-17 over Walker Valley. Loudon took on McMinn Central. Loudon wins 35-7. And then Ray County, they are still undefeated. They beat Warren County 46-3. And of course, Ooltewah, McCauley, and East Ridge all on the bye week. Now, guys, out of all these scoreboards, we'll go left to right this time. Ryan, what was your good game? What was the game that met expectations? And what was the game that shocked you in the way it happened?
Guys, I'm just going to say this right now. The Brentwood-Baylor game was the best game I've seen all year. After how Brentwood handled McCauley, I was kind of expecting here. I was curious over how Brentwood would handle a second trip down to Chattanooga, and I'll tell you, Baylor gave them all they could handle. Baylor pulled out all the stops. They had a fake punt that went for 40 yards. They had a running back pass. They had a hook and ladder. They had a kick return. But they just came up just short, and I got to tell you, Nick Tiano, he had a hell of a game.
Did he solidify you as, like, no doubt about the golden boy of the area?
He's the golden boy right here. He's
the number one team in the nation has a future in the quarterback slot of what you're just trying to say.
He had a chance. They got the ball back with about a minute 30 left on the clock on the 20-yard line. He led them down to their own 40 and probably would have led them into the end zone if a pass hadn't gone off the receiver's hands for a Brentwood interception. But I would have just given him the Heisman right there if he would have completed that drive.
What game kind of, when you look at the scoreboard, you hear about the scores, what game didn't really meet up to the expectations you were thinking?
Guys, I'm surprised at how much Central has gotten their offense going in the past few weeks. How many points they put up in the 30s or 40s last week too, and now they put up 49 against Howard. A team that's been struggling offensively for the greater part of the season is finally starting to find that identity.
Yeah, that's good. But we'll go to me now. The game that kind of, two games. The one that met expectations for me, because but when I mean expectations, I knew this was going to be kind of the result of the game, was the Signal Mountain CCS game. I knew Signal Mountain, even without Scotty Wilson, their offensive line, their defensive front, they were ready to go. They were ready to prove themselves, hey, we had one bad loss to Notre Dame. We're ready to bounce back. And I knew they would have a good win in that situation, like in that game against CCS. Now they got Greenville, so I'm really excited to see where they go to that. But a game, when I mean disappointment, I mean I have been in these guys' shoes before. When you have a decent lead at the beginning of the game and then you let it slip. I'm talking about the Red Bank and Hickson game because Red Bank had it won. But you got to give props to Hickson for continuing the fight and taking advantage of Red Bank mistakes. But it just breaks your heart when you see a team that puts so much, and they have so much talent and so much size, and the Stanford brothers and Miles Smith and then Malik Davis. I mean, it just kind of gets at you a little bit. But no doubt about it, that was my favorite game of the week just because of the defensive play on both sides of the ball, especially Marshall Cooper for Hickson. I mean, 14 tackles? I mean, it's no Enos from Notre Dame, but it's getting there. It's getting there. But what about you, John?
I mean, something that just jumps off the page at you. I don't want to steal Taylor's thunder, but you have to go Boyd Buchanan, Copper Basin. You look at a Boyd Buchanan team coming in the season. They were, they lost 5 straight. Where was this team mentally? They had lost their star quarterback in Jim Cardwell. Jackson wasn't getting the touches that he is used to. Demarius Macon isn't getting incorporated in the offense like he can. And then all of a sudden, the past 3 weeks, you hit a Grace team, you hit a South Pittsburgh team, Taylor. Now you got a Copper Basin. That's 17 straight for Grant Reynolds in that district.
Yeah.
I mean, he could, I believe, if he was to win at Silverdale next week, he ties the area's record. That's the recent record of 18 straight for Signal Mountain.
Oh, wow.
And he would be able to break it next year. But you got to like what Boyd Buchanan's doing. I know when we were doing our power rankings this week, guys, we felt a little bit different about the Buccaneers and everybody, but I think the Buccaneers are now soaring. And if you were to lock heads with maybe 5 different teams in the area that are relatively close to their athletic ability, I would think that with Cooper Hodge kind of coming into his own,
Sure.
They could really surprise. But something that I just didn't think that lived up to expectations of what I thought, you'd have to totally go with Loudon McMinn Central.
Yeah.
Loudon barely squeaked by versus East Ridge. McMinn Central was undefeated. They've dropped 2 straight now. And, I mean, I was really high on the Chargers and what Jackson Long and Jackson Guyer have been doing up there. And I was expecting, a 35-31 game, a 35 game, and go into overtime and one win by a field goal or a 2-point conversion. But I'm totally shocked at the Chargers. And now this week they play Central next week, so it will be interesting with Chattanooga Central getting an offense of what those 2 Centrals, match up against. But Taylor, who did you really have?
Well, for me, the game that really impressed me, surprised me, is going to be, again, Brentwood Baylor. To see what McCauley did to Innsworth, McCauley did to Baylor, to see what Brentwood did to McCauley, and then to have a close game like this. Guys, I don't know what to say about 2AA anymore. I can't.
It's up in the air.
My analysis is just not worth its weight anymore when it comes to Division 2AA. But, I was at Boyd Buchanan. I was at Boyd Buchanan Copper Basin, and that was really a very good game, I believe, for the Bucks. And something that, they didn't play a perfect game. They punted the ball several times, had, I want to say, 1 interception, maybe 2, and just really didn't play a complete game, but were still able to shut out a Copper Basin team, which is going to be the number 2 team in that district. They're going to make it to the playoffs this year. And, it was just a very good showing for a Bucks team that's starting to roll now.
Okay. And, guys, now we're going to swing it over to like we do every week. We have our Players of the Week feature. And, I mean, I got to kick it off. You can't say nothing about the kid. Hard work, dedication, motivation, everything under the book. But Blake Smith of Saudi Daisy, the senior receiver, is well over 1,000 yards now, had 245 yards and 2 touchdowns, caught 1 touchdown pass from his own running back that went over 80 yards. So Christian Bell, he's had 700 yards rushing. Now he's throwing passes. Who knows? He might be the quarterback next year for the Trojans. I know, Ryan, you mentioned that you watched the Saudi versus East Hamilton JV game last night, and you think that Saudi's solidified pretty good at quarterback the next couple of years. But you got to like what Blake Smith is doing. He's taken some of that non-attention that Trey Carter has taken all the attention and turned it into a very successful senior season with over 10 touchdown catches and over 1,000 yards. And then we swing it over to our game of the week, and Marshall Cooper. You got to love it when just an old-style linebacker, just between the tackles, playing in space, running sideline to sideline. He had 14 tackles on the night. Another kid, our insider Zach Kirby, was over at East Hamilton. It took him a couple of games, but they finally have found consistency under center. And Matt Milletta with over 200 yards rushing from under center. Don't see that much. Michael Vick maybe, but
Sure.
in the form, I know they got a transfer finally eligible, gave some of that weight off Milletta, and he was able to capitalize on that. Matt Milletta and his co-runner there in that game was Logan Hammond. You got to mention Logan Hammond with 2 interceptions on the night. But, guys, who was really your player of the week this week on your game, Taylor?
Yeah, my guys, I have 2 of them that I really want to mention. Cooper Hodge, first and foremost. He only attempted 4 passes, but completed 3 of them. One of them was a big touchdown to Demarius Macon. And finished with 122 yards passing, a touchdown through the air, like I mentioned. He also finished with a rushing touchdown. But Austin Jackson as well for the Bucks, guys. He's a big running back. He can bounce off a couple of tackles, get you 4 yards in a cloud of dust if you need it. He finished with 10 carries, 97 yards, and a touchdown of his own. So those are my guys.
Jake, who did you really like out of that Red Bank Hickson game?
I have a couple. I have one statistically, and then I've got one workload. Statistically, I got to go with Marshall Cooper. I mean, 14 tackles. The man ran right through one of the biggest offensive lines in the area and just made plays. And he was able to shut down this running game. Even with Malik Davis, I saw him get an open field tackle on him. And that's my other player of the game is Malik Davis. For the workload he's had to put on, playing under center, running around. I mean, he went down in the fourth quarter with cramps, and it was heartbreaking for him. But he was walking about after the game. But Malik, he had a lot of workload for him. And I think this Red Bank team is going to get better. And I think Malik, as a player, I mean, he's an outstanding punt returner and an amazing athlete. But he's still going to get better as well. I think Marshall Cooper and Malik Davis, those are my two players of the game. What about you, Ryan?
I mean, guys, I've already said it. Nick Tiano. That Baylor offense runs through him, and whenever they need a spark, he's there to give it to them. I didn't even know how well he could run the ball, but he was showing his wheels all night against Brentwood. And another thing is Brentwood's offensive line needs to be given a lot of credit. They're monsters. I can't put it another way. You've got Ryan Johnson on the right tackle that's committed to Tennessee, and then you've got his last name's Matthews on the left tackle, and he's getting offers from everywhere as well. And those guys, their entire line's their size, and they kept getting holes open all night.
Well, guys, when we come back, you'll have me with our insider Zach Kirby. We'll be talking a little bit about basketball as the season's kicking up. Been traveling all over Chattanooga, getting interviews ready to go. Going to have your one-stop shop here for basketball season. And when we come back on the roundup, we'll have our insider Zach Kirby talk a little bit about Hamilton County basketball and everything that's in store this season. Welcome you back to the River City Roundup, brought to you by Jefferson's of Chattanooga and produced by famed media direction. With me, like always, our basketball guru, Zach Kirby. Man, we've been all over Chattanooga. We've been hitting I-24, 153, 158, back roads, everything you can think of to get out and cover basketball. We were at Lookout Valley Friday, talked with Coach Ford a little bit. Let's go ahead and kick it off. Let's talk some Lookout Valley basketball. How did you feel after that interview from him?
You know, I think Coach Ford has a good system that he's going. They're a very young team, but the fact that he's coached some of these players since the 6th grade, you know, makes a big difference in overall team chemistry. Probably one of the more exciting teams we will watch because of their upbeat, fast tempo-paced offense that they like to run. I think they're going to be very athletic too.
Very athletic. You know, we can talk about Darian Robinson, Terry Billingsley, and Bailey Melton. Great young gentlemen. We got a chance to meet with them. You can tell they're excited about the season. Talking to them, though, they had different players that they like to mimic their game after. You know, one said Russell Westbrook. The other one said Bernard King. You know,
That's
for
an
some,
old one.
yeah, that's an old one. For some of our listeners, Bernard King. If you don't know who he is, you can go check out the ESPN 30 for 30, Bernie and Ernie. But he was a very good standout player for the University of Tennessee at Knoxville. And then the other one, he said Charles Barkley. That's another older one but you like to see kids who know their basketball history. But I think Lookout Valley will be very exciting as well. Talking with Coach Ford, he feels that they can be real competitive right up there next to some of those teams in the district. But they're going to play more of a fast-paced offense of what they played in the past. They want to get out and run. They want to press you. They want to get back. He feels that they did lose a pretty good player in Kalou Peoples. He got hurt in football season, so that might hurt early with some of those football players, but it might not hurt in the long run. You can't replace a player like Peoples, but some of that athletic ability Lookout Valley has. But now I did get to talk to Coach Westmore of Notre Dame. Their girls on Thursday. They have a very good girl in Taylor Hill. He said at one point in the season 4 of his top 5 girls were out last year. I think they won a total of 4 games, but he feels that they might reap the benefits this year of what a building a program is like. He said that 4 years ago when he came, they had 1 basketball. Now they have got a gun. They've got a great facility down there at Notre Dame, and I feel those girls can really get off to a hot start. Something to note, they are playing in Phillips Arena, the home of the Atlanta Hawks, on December 30th when they tuck on Knoxville Catholic, their big arch rival up there in Knoxville. We'll be on hand. You know, we will be on hand for that game, bringing everybody. I think that's going to be a big game for both programs and an opportunity to show kind of on a national scale of what Chattanooga and Knoxville basketball is about. But the one thing that I like about Coach Moore is he's always positive with his girls. As long as they were down, he was always positive. He feels like they've bought in. They've got a really good forward/guard in Annie Ripper. She's very defensive-minded but can score if needed. But the big thing I like about what Notre Dame girls have, they might have assembled the best coaching staff of anybody in the area. They have a really good young coach in Sydney Abijay. She coached St. Jude Middle last year and led them to a district championship. Then you have Jason Hill coming over from Signal Mountain, and he brought one of his assistants over. So they've got great basketball minds on there for their coaching staff. But switching over to the boys' side, J.P. Nurbin, I mean, he got enough experience for anybody really in the area. And talk to me what you liked about the Notre Dame boys and what they possess. I know they got a really good player in Tyler Bird. Tell our viewers what Notre Dame boys might look like.
Well, you know, I think the biggest thing about the Notre Dame boys program is this entire team, from what Coach Nurbin has said, has bought into his system. And I think it doesn't matter how talented a team is. You could have, you know, the best players out there, but if they don't buy into your system, what does it mean? You know what I mean? And so that is huge for their team. But I think Tyler Bird, you know, a 6'4" combo forward guard, maybe play the wing a little bit. The guy's very versatile. He can dribble up the floor if needed. From what I've seen on his highlight tape, he's good at creating space in the post, especially. He can get very low, you know, and get the ball open, make sure that they can bounce it into him inside the paint so he can create points, things like that. He can also hit it from beyond the arc. I mean, I think the biggest key for this Notre Dame team is if they can get their shooting down, they will be very impressive to see. And I know Coach Nurbin has really stressed that this year, especially if you're playing some of those teams that like to go in zone,
Yeah.
where they're going to force you to shoot it from behind the arc. And I think this Notre Dame team has a lot of talent this year, and if they can get the shooting down and get all those tools connected, I think they'll be, possible region or district title there.
And you got to mention Keely Green, senior linebacker, will also play some guard, and Guy Westhoff for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. One thing to note is Coach Nerbun, talking to him, he's a realist with you. Like he's very honest, and he said he kind of had to do a self-assessment after the past 2 years that he's not in the pros anymore. He's now or in the European leagues. He's here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, coaching a great Catholic school in Notre Dame, and he started to build better relationships with his players, and he feels that's starting to benefit the program and those who have stayed around the program and bought into his system. I feel that they are, they're on a cusp of something special. I think we talked about how special the football team could be this year. I think Notre Dame basketball is on the cusp of something very, very big as well. He feels that they have a chance to win the district, if they knock off some of those teams, and he feels that a couple of years, just like Coach Moore, that you're going to see the benefits of being in the program a while. But we also were able to go out and talk to the Saudi Daisy head coach and Drew Linus, and also talk to the Saudi Daisy boys coach Reed Daniels. Tell me what you liked about them Saudi girls.
Well, the Saudi Daisy girls, I think that their best player, Brooke.
It's Brooke Hale.
Brooke Hale, yeah. I think she's going to be a true leader on that team, along with Kelsey King, who they say is the more vocal one of the group. But I think this Saudi team, Coach Linus likes to score in transition, and when your team likes to run and gun and score in transition defensively, that means you're going to force turnovers. And I think for a team that lacks in height, where he said his tallest player is only 5'8", 5'9", you're going to have to run the ball up the court and get, a lot of those other teams that have more size, get them tired. And I think conditioning is going to be a huge thing for that team. But I'm excited to see what they bring to the table.
And you saw a little bit when we got to watch a little bit of that practice was they were running the whole time. And then he made them run at the end of practice and did some conditioning. And they want to shoot the three, and they want to force teams to play their game. And he feels that if there's a circle on that calendar, it might be when he plays his sister Bailey Linus at Red Bank High School, which I had the pleasure of meeting this week and talking with. And she's excited. You rarely come across a coach that if they don't say they're not dreaming about it at night, then their heart might not be in it. And she, very openly expressed that she dreams about it. She played at Red Bank. She knows of what it used to be like when they used to win. She feels that the Red Bank girls' sports have kind of been pushed to the back burner. And I think that was effects of when they separated the schools and Signal Mountain was built, but it was needed to be built, updating the school. And I think finally there's athletes there that they have weathered that storm, and they can make an impact this year with a new coach, because she's very upbeat. She's excited about it. I think a young mind and a young enthusiastic coach will be able to turn the tides a little bit. They have two outstanding volleyball players that the volleyball team's actually leaving for state that will come, and they're very good post players, which will help them Red Bank girls. But also was able, after that interview, to go talk to Nick Fike, Red Bank's coach. Talk about an extreme makeover basketball edition. Coach Fike has redone the locker room. No player will be able to see the locker room unless you make that team. And if you make that team, then you get to see that locker room. Great facilities at Red Bank. Coach Grabowski on the football team has done the exact same thing. A lot of good things are happening at Red Bank High School. They're going to be worth the ticket. Malik McConnell can jump out the gym. You also have Malik Davis. You know what he can do on the football field. Man, what can you see him do on the basketball court? And Coach Fike, he's had experience. He's coached, and like you said about Eric Ford, he's got a pretty good 8th grade class that's sitting there at Red Bank Middle that he had a couple of years at the middle school level that will be able to come through. And once they come through, he feels they could be very good, rejuvenated. He plans this being a long haul stop for him, and he's excited about that.
When you have that relationship with the coach, especially if you know the players that are in middle school and you know they're going to come up to high school, that's already a lot easier, or it's a given that they're going to buy into your system, which is everything.
Yeah, and you have to like that portion of it. But then the other thing you have to think about as well is talking about the same district that Red Bank's in. Got to speak with Coach Williams over there at Tyner today. She's excited about her group of girls. Says they're very athletic, they can run, but they just have to have belief. And she feels that they can believe and buy in and form that team chemistry, they can make some noise. Coach Allen of East Ridge, got to speak with him. He's very excited as well. Another guy who's talking about buying in, buying new jerseys, doing this, doing that, wanting to instill, the knowledge of old basketball, not the new style of basketball. And I really like talking with him. I feel that basketball in the area is going to be very exciting like football has been. Our insider Taylor Ellis, he said my pick 'em ability or my analysis of Division II is way off. I'd say basketball in the area is so hard to pick 'em because teams have lost so much, and then teams with new coaches are going to be great.
Once tournaments come around, a certain team's going to shine and start making some upsets, and you're never going to see it coming.
Yeah, you're never going to see it coming. That's the great thing about basketball. Last-second shots to alley-oops to breakaway dunks. We're going to have it all here at River City Sports. But when we come back, we're going to do our week's pick'ems. We're also going to do a new segment on the show that's called Pick Your Headline. We'll try to predict which headline's going to be the big headline for the following Saturday after our games Friday nights. But like always, when we come back in the roundup, we'll have all our insiders and we'll predict this coming week's games. And we welcome you back to the River City Roundup, brought to you by Jefferson's of Chattanooga and produced by Fresh Above Media Direction. Guys, it's our Pick'em segment. We're going to talk about this week's games, talk about a couple of Week 10 games that are kind of some big matchups as well. What are you looking so excited for? We're going to go ahead and start off this one. We have Howard 0-8, 0-4 in the district playing Red Bank, who's 4-4, 3-1 after slipping up last week against now the number one, with no doubt about it, the Hickson Wildcats. We're going to swing it over to you, Ryan. I know you like your Red Bank Lions and some Howard Tigers.
Guys, I can't sugarcoat it. I think Red Bank's going to win this one big. They slipped up last week. I think they come out pissed off and ready to play.
Jake, I know you're a little bit excited about Red Bank and what they can do bouncing back. Well, who do you have?
Nice way to put it. They're pissed off. That's what they are. They're mad. They're pretty peeved that they blew that game away. I mean, Coach Grabowski last week even said, we let this one slip. All we can do is just get better. And he handled a very disappointed team very well. And I think they're going to have a great week of practice. I don't think this game is close. Red Bank, they win big.
Well, Red Bank, they were up on that high. They didn't score after the first quarter. And Malik Davis, cramps or not, there's still inconsistency in the play calling. If they want Stamper under center, Tate under center, Davis under center, clearly, got to throw it back to you, Ryan. you said a little bit ago in our segment is the reason Baylor was even in that game was because of whose play? Nick Tiano. We all know you win games under the quarterback position. It's going to be closer than people think, but Red Bank wins it. But you got to see more consistent play at the quarterback spot if Red Bank wants to make any kind of noise going into the playoffs. They are going to need some help, and that's where we come. Zach, Taylor, who do you got? Howard, Red Bank.
You want to go? You want me to go? Well, I absolutely agree with you. I think for Red Bank to win this one and to continue to win throughout the rest of the season, they have to have consistent quarterback play, whether that is Malik Davis taking all the snaps, whether that is Caleb Tate taking all the snaps, whether that is Courtney Stamper taking all the snaps. If they don't want to throw the ball ever again and just run with him, I mean, that's okay as long as it's consistent. You guys are winning with that. That being said, I really don't think Red Bank struggles with this matchup against Howard. It will be closer than people think, but I do think they win this one handedly.
And Zach, who do you got out of the Howard Tigers and the Red Bank Lions?
Taylor, I couldn't have said it any better myself. I think regardless of who's the quarterback, you must have consistency at that position to win football games. I think they have a good week of practice. I think a lot of games are won in practice and not necessarily even in the game. I think preparation is everything. I think Red Bank pulls this one out.
Red Bank pulling it off. Consistent call here. No hard feelings to Mark T and the Tigers. They're just a couple of years away, and trust me, in a couple of years we're going to be saying it's going to be a very good team. He's just building from the ground up. Tyner 1-7, 1-3 in the district after being nipped by the Brainerd, the Fesky Brainerd Panthers, who you don't know what you're going to get from Coach Gwynn and them. We exchanged some text messages over the weekend. He's fired up against Eastridge, 2-6 and 1-3, who's not completely healthy. Something to note, fellas. The last time Wayne Turner lost 3 games in the district, Bill Clinton was in office.
Wow.
Just something to note there. This is the first year they have lost more than 3 district games. It's hard to pick them, but Zach, we're going to swing it over to you first. Who do you got, Tyner or Eastridge?
I'm going to have to take the Eastridge Pioneers in this one. I just have a gut feeling that regardless of their up and down season that they've had, I think they pull this one out.
And Taylor, who do you have?
I like that pick, Zach, but I think it's wrong. I'm going to go with with thank you. I'm going to go with Tyner on this one. I really think that they steal one away from Eastridge, a team that's really struggling with the injury bug right now and hasn't been playing their best football as of late.
Well, Eastridge, was able to stop by him today, and I walked into Coach Malone's. He giggled. He was like, "Welcome to life without trainers." There's about 6 guys in there getting their ankles taped. JoJo Tillery, their do-it-all quarterbacks, is still ailing from a high ankle sprain. D'Angelo Johnson, he's kind of dinged up. Jacoby Jordan, he's dinged up. You have Seth Vaughn, he's got a broken foot, hurt his shoulder. I mean, pretty much they should just move Erlanger down to Eastridge and have those boys go from the practice field into the hospital, then right back out. You got to feel for the Eastridge Pioneers. Tyner, complete opposite. They had a really hard schedule. They usually get hot. They haven't gotten hot. Brainerd got them last week, and I don't think that was just a surprise. I think Brainerd this year is the better team. It's so hard, but with Tyner being at home, I think I give it to the Rams. There's nothing wrong with that. There's just too many injuries on an Eastridge team to overcome, so I'm going Rams.
I'm going to have to disagree. I'm going to have to go with Eastridge on this one. JoJo Tillery, even with an ankle sprain, I think is going to be too much for this Tyner defense. Tyner's got some good athletes running the ball, and that I think is going to be the interesting matchup. How is the Tyner running game going to go up against this Eastridge defensive front, which is not a bad defensive front at all? So I'm going to say Eastridge, but close.
You guys have talked about Eastridge being banged up. Tyner is not the team you want to play when you're got a lot of hurt guys on the field. They are a very physical football team, and I've got Tyner winning this one handedly, and I just hope Eastridge gets out of it without more injuries.
I like that. I don't know about that pick.
Well, guys, Hickson 6-2, 4-0 in the district versus Chattanooga Central 6-2, 3-2 in the district. Wow. Well, I mean, who would have guessed? These two teams both sitting at 6-2. One is 4-0, one's 3-2 in the district. Guys, yeah, I'm almost lost for words. But Ryan, we're going to send it back over to you. What do you like about the Hickson Wildcats and the Central Pounders? Who you got?
I'm liking the Hickson Wildcats on this one. I think the three-headed monster they got in the backfield continues to keep going, and I think it's close now that Central's found their offensive identity. But I think it's a low-scoring affair, and I think Hickson pulls it out.
If Hickson can run the way they did against Red Bank, who has a more impressive front seven than Central does, who can't Hickson run the ball against? Hickson's got one of the best offensive lines in the area. I'm going to have to say Hickson, but it's going to be close. It's going to be a lot closer than everyone thinks.
Well, the good thing about Hickson is they find ways to win. Knit and grit all night long the other night at Red Bank. They found the way to win. They are playing a complete linebacking core, not taking anything away from Gabe Smith and Courtney Stamper, but Kevin McKenzie, Billingsley, Metcalf. Gosh, are these some really good linebackers the Central Pounders have? They found an identity. Slight edge to Hickson because they are at home. Taylor, you might know a little bit more than me. You're going to be covering the game, but I'm going to go Hickson close, which sets up a pretty big game next week against the Brainerd Panthers and the Hickson Wildcats. Who do you got, Taylor?
Well, I am covering the game. It is at Hickson. Both teams are, who saw Hickson coming, or who saw Hickson where they are now at the beginning of the season? We, at the beginning of the season, thought Chattanooga Central was going to be a pretty decent team. They struggled a little bit earlier in the season. Now they're starting to get that rhythm together. For me, God, this is really close. Slight edge, just because it's at Hickson, I'm going to give a slight edge to the Wildcats. Maybe 1-2 points, not much. This is going to be a very, very close game.
And who do you have, Zach?
I think this one's going to be close at half, maybe even tied at half. I think it's going to come down to the final 2 minutes of the game. I'm going to take Hickson just because they have those three running backs that they just rotate. That's constant fresh legs, and I think that, especially in a late game situation, is going to be the big difference maker.
Well, guys, now we move on to East Hamilton. Matt Maletta finally getting some awesome opportunities under center for the Hurricanes. They're playing an undefeated Ray County team, 8-0, 4-0 in their district. Man, I honestly thought this could be different records. I actually had East Hamilton possibly at 7-1 right now, and Ray County at 2-6 earlier in the season. But there you go, Taylor. Like you said, your whole analysis could be off on any given time.
It is high school football, so it's
yeah. One person who probably knows more about the Hurricanes than any of us is probably our insider, Ryan McCoy. Ryan, can the Hurricanes get it done?
Guys, other than injuries, I think the thing that's plagued East Hamilton the most this season has been turnovers. Against Saudi, they had 0. And I think that's the first time all season they've had 0 turnovers, and they were able to pull it out against a talented Saudi team. If they are able to play mistake-free again, I think they can make this a very close game, but I don't think they match up against Ray County like they do with Saudi. I've got Ray County winning this one close.
I don't think it's going to be close. Ray County's going to wipe the floor with them.
Tell me how you really feel.
Yeah, that's got to be off the air. That's the problem. We don't have enough time for that. But Ray County, they are. We talk about Hickson being the surprise. We got Ray County. They have the same record as Ooltewah. I'm telling you right now, no one saw that coming. Well, I am a believer. I'm on the Ray County train. I'm soaring with the Eagles on this one.
Well, Jake, not to steal your line, probably going to have to steal Taylor's pen, but not so fast on that one. It's at Hurricane Hill. Matt Maletta is under center. They've got a new transfer in. Martez Dura is not the transfer, but he's playing better. Logan Hammond's got his game going. When you run the type of offense that Ray County's got, there's one person that's sitting right in their middle, right in their lane. That's Zach Thomas. Love the way the boy plays the linebacker position for the Hurricanes. And like I said, it's at Hurricane Hill.
Yeah.
And once they start rolling, if there's one coach that can ride a ship, it's Ted Gatewood. I've got the Hurricanes, and they're about to shock the world Friday night. So I can just you can go ahead and mark that one down, because I wouldn't even call it shock the world, because they should beat teams like this. When you played East Hamilton, like Coach Gatewood said, he reiterated it 6 or 7 times during expectations. They know the expectations. The expectations is to beat Ray County. And I see them beating the Eagles on Friday. Jake, No hard feelings on that one, but we're going to send it over to Taylor. Who you got?
Jake, did I hear you right in saying that you were now soaring with the Eagles? Is that right?
Yeah, I'm flying. Fly like an eagle.
Well,
man.
you know what? I'm gonna join you up there. I
That's what
got
I'm
Ray
talking
County as
about.
well. I think they're rolling right now, 8-0, 4-0. They've beaten good teams on the road and a Cookeville team here a few weeks ago. I don't think they struggle here against East Hamilton, a team that's had the injury bug, so forth and so on. We can say all that we want about East Hamilton, but I really don't think Ray County trips up in this one.
And Zach, who are you liking in that game?
Despite the injury bug that East Hamilton had and everything that's been said about them, last week when I covered them against Saudi was not the East Hamilton team that I thought I was going to see. This team they executed everything right. 0 turnovers. Zach Thomas was playing like the NFL player Zach Thomas.
Yeah.
I
I like finally somebody gets that relation that I've been trying to get all year.
Yeah, Matt Miletta, 200 yards rushing on the ground, not even the starting quarterback, able to make plays happen with his feet. Logan Hammond, creating turnovers, 2 picks in that game against a very talented Saudi team who, by the way, got all of their yards as expected, and East Hamilton still pulled it out. I think with this at Hurricane Hill, this is going to be my upset pick, but I'm picking East Hamilton to win this game.
East Hamilton. Okay, guys, now we're going to go to our blitz round. Everybody, think, pick. Think, pick.
Okay.
We have Sell Creek 0-8, 0-3 versus Monterey 5-3, 2-1. Who do you have, Zach?
I'm about to take Monterey.
Who do you got, Taylor?
Monterey.
I'm going Monterey. Who do you have?
Going Monterey Jack Cheese on that one.
Who do you got?
Monterey.
Well, consensus Monterey. You got Grace Academy 1-7, 0-2 in that district at Jackson County. Remember, they're going on the road 5-3, 2-1, a Jackson County team. I've got Grace Academy. Who do you have, Taylor?
I'm going to go Jackson County.
Who do you have, Jake?
Sorry, Miss Jackson, but for real, I'm going Grace on this one.
Ooh, I like that. That was
I thought that was clever.
Jackson County.
Jackson County.
I think James Orell for Grace has a good performance, but Jackson County.
Jackson County. Lookout Valley 1-7, 0-3 versus Copper Basin 4-4, 1-1. Hopefully, we're not going to watch the halftime show, Taylor. But who do you have, Zach?
I'm going to take Copper Basin on this one.
Who do you have?
You're going to get me in trouble. I'm going to go with Copper Basin on this.
I'm going to go with Copper Basin as well. Who do you have?
I'm going to go Copper Basin.
Copper Basin.
Copper Basin. CCS 4-4, 3-1 in that district at Marion County 7-1, 3-0. Who do you have?
I'll have to go with Marion County on this one.
Who do you have, Taylor?
The same, Marion County.
I'm going to go Marion County as well. Who do you have, Jake?
I gotta go Marion County, but close.
Who do you have?
Marion County.
Marion County. Well, don't usually do this because we love our Boyd Buchanan Buccaneers, but Boyd Buchanan 3-5, 2-1 versus Sequatchie County 3-5, 1-3. Does Grant Reynolds' staff make it four in a row?
I'm going to say so. I'm going to go with Boyd Buchanan.
Who do you have, Zach?
Taylor, I'm going to go with your alma mater as well. I'm going with Boyd.
I like
Buchanan.
Boyd Buchanan as well. Who do you have?
I'm gonna have to go with Boyd, unfortunately. Yeah, Boyd, they get a good game going.
Boyd Buchanan.
Well, guys, Notre Dame 7-1, 4-0 at Coalfield, 5-3, 4-1. Let's talk a little Irish football for a minute. What do you like about that game, Taylor? I know you've seen Notre Dame a lot. What do you like, Notre Dame, Coalfield?
Well, I think ever since the Signal Mountain game, the guys are just playing at a different level. Not to say that they weren't playing good to begin the season, but I feel like that Signal Mountain game really gave everyone confidence. Like, hey guys, we're good. We can do this year. I really like the way the offense is clicking. I think Alex Darris is really starting to come into his own at the quarterback position. We've talked all year about Austin Banks. We've talked all year about Kareem Moore, but really, guys, the defense. Tyler Enos is a tackling machine. He looks and plays the part. They've got guys that are stepping up on both sides of the ball. I really, really, really like this Irish team this year. And for my pick, I'm going to go Notre Dame.
Guys, who do you got, Zach?
Going with Notre Dame as well. I think that Signal game was the one game that they had to get over the hump. And I think a lot of times, especially in high school football, it takes one game to kind of set the pace for how the rest of the season's going to be. I think Notre Dame continues their momentum.
And Jake, who do you have?
I picked against Notre Dame once. I learned my lesson. I've been picking them ever since. I'm going to go with the Irish on this one.
Well, Ryan, who do you like? Do you like the Irish to
Guys, I
fight
said it
on?
before. I'm going to say it again. Notre Dame will not lose another game. That's including the playoffs.
Well, I like that. Well, guys, I'm going to get a little bit more in depth
Okay.
because I like the Irish and what they're doing. I said a couple weeks ago, for this Irish team to be able to start clicking and beat teams in the playoff, like in Alcoa, they have to get more players involved. Let's kick back 2 weeks ago and look at the Signal Mountain game. Kareem Moore, 5 receptions for 118 yards. Pretty good day in the ballpark. I
Yeah.
mean, that's just a normal day for Kareem Moore. Banks had 2 receptions for 22 yards. No one else had more than 1 reception for over 4 yards at a time. Problem, right there. So let's.
Oh, people are excited about
Yeah,
that.
whoa, yeah. So then we're gonna turn to Polk County. Receiving. Anthony Fleminster, 1 for 66. Kareem Moore, 5 for 64. Caleb Edwards, 1 for 25. Joe Enos, 2 for 23. Jared Edwards, 2 for 18. Then you had Jake Baker, 1 for 7, and Ricky Ballard, 1 for 3. Now let's even go sooner to Sequatchie County. When they're going off Sequatchie County, Kareem Moore had 4 for 41. Joe Enos had 3. Jared Andrews 1 again. Anthony Flemers 2. Patrick Johnson 2. And also Will Montgomery 1. The thing is basically what I'm trying to point out here is he's getting more people involved.
Yeah.
Coach Fan has rest Austin Banks. He's had only a total of 70-something yards rushing the past 2 weeks. He's got fresh legs. Ricky Ballard led him in rushing 2 weeks ago. Will Montgomery led him last week in rushing with 81 yards. I like what Coach Fan is doing. He's resting people. He's getting more people involved because it's going to take a complete effort to win playoff games. Because after those first couple rounds, you're starting to face people who are just as athletic, just as mean as you, just as tackling machines as you. I do like Notre Dame in this one. Look for someone else to lead them in rushing. Kareem Moore probably to have 2 touchdowns,
Yeah.
and someone else to probably get involved as well. Really like the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in this one. Now return. Signal Mountain, 7-1, 3-1 in their district versus Greenville, 7-1, 4-0. Greenville was able to knock them off last year. I like the Eagles at home with a little bit of a trip for Greenville, but I like Signal Mountain at home. Maybe J.R. Wilson has a couple big touchdown catches. Who do you have, Jake?
They're my boys on the mountain. That's all I gotta say. But I played Greenville in high school, and that was the hardest I've ever been hit in my life. I couldn't hear out of my ear after 10 minutes, and I was getting chewed up by my coach with the dumbest stare like that. Greenville can play. They've got guys up there that can play. But I like Signal Mountain this because it is at home and it's a long trip for Greenville. But it will be I think this will be the best game of the week.
Who do you have, Ryan?
I have to agree with that being the best game of the week. I think this is going to be a dogfight.
Is that just because you're going to the game? Because it's the best game of the week?
Ryan.
Well, yeah.
Powerful, but it's all good.
That goes without saying, though. You know?
It's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be a physical football game. That's how Signal plays. That's how Greenville likes to play. And guys, I almost don't even know who to pick on this. It's a coin flip game, and like I said, I always go with the home team. So Signal Mountain.
And what about you?
I'm gonna disagree with you, Ryan. I think you should have picked Greenville. I'm gonna go with.
So polite about
So
it.
polite.
I love
I'm
that.
on it. Singers tonight. But anyway, I'm gonna go with Greenville, guys. You know, Signal Mountain, they're a little bit beat up. Had that tough loss to Notre Dame, where I think it actually kind of exposed some weaknesses that they didn't know that they had. But guys, Greenville is a very good football team. Like Jake says, they hit you really, really hard. So I think it's going to be Greenville in this one here.
My ear still rings from that to this day.
And what about you, Zach?
This one's up in the air for me. Two very hard-nosed teams. I've seen Signal Mountain. They're very physical. That was when they had Sky Wilson, but I think, just because they don't have him doesn't mean they're any less physical of a team. And their record speaks for itself. The only loss being to a Notre Dame team. I like Signal in this one. I think Coach Price's wing T offense gets going in this. I think the fact that he has multiple guys in the backfield that can carry the ball, I'm going to go with the Signal Mountain Eagles on this one, and a lot of that is because they are at home.
Well, kicking it over real quick. Baylor 5-3, 2-2 at Innsworth, 6-1, 3-1. Let's go down real quick. Who you got?
I'm going to have to go with Innsworth on this one.
Who do you have, Taylor?
It's at Innsworth. I'm going with Innsworth.
I'm gonna surprise some people. Tiano's gonna get it done this week. I just feel that last week he's just, gripping. But I think he knocks off Innsworth. Wouldn't be surprised there because he needs that signature win. I think he gets it this week. Who do you have, Jake?
I'm going to agree with you on this one, John. This is a rarity for us. I'm going to have to go with Baylor on this as well. I think Tiano does have the biggest game of the year.
You guys kind of stole my thunder on this one.
That's why you gotta go first.
After seeing how Tiana played against Brentwood last week, I think he goes up to Innsworth, and I think he shows everyone why Mississippi State wanted him. And a lot of people don't know this. This will be the first Baylor team to beat Innsworth at Innsworth.
Okay.
Okay.
Fun
Okay.
fact.
All
Calling
predictions.
Baylor.
And turn it now. McMinn County 2-6, 2-2 versus the Walker Valley 4-4, 1-3. Who you got, Ryan?
I've got Walker Valley in this one.
Who do you have, Jake?
Gotta go Walker Valley in this one.
I'm going McMinn County. Who do you have?
Are you really? You're going to go McMinn County on this
I'm
one?
going McMinn County.
Is that Walker Valley?
It's at McMinn County.
Is that McMinn County?
Mhm.
Ooh, I'm still going to go Walker Valley.
And who do you have, Zach?
He's
John, I'm
talking
going to
about
agree with you. I'm also going to take McMinn County.
I like McMinn County. Well, clearly we'll give down our line. I want Zach to touch a little bit more on this game. McCauley, they bounce back against Father Ryan. Who do you have?
Absolutely. I think McCauley comes out fired up, and I think they win this game by a minimum of 20 points.
Who do you have, Jake?
I know. After that whooping they took last week, I think they'd be happy just to win by a point.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say McCauley wins. It's close. Alex Trotter has to think about. He has an off night, 3 touchdowns. So I think Trotter. I think they win, but it'll be close.
He's 375 yards away from breaking 2,000 yards in the regular season.
Chump change.
I like him, and I like McCauley. I like the Tornadoes to go up, and I think Nashville had a pretty big flood a couple of years ago. Maybe they need a
Yeah.
tornado too. Who do you have, Taylor?
I like that. That was nice. Was that off the top of your head? Or
No, I had that wrote down a couple of weeks ago. Been waiting for it.
Awesome,
Man,
I like
that's
that.
harsh.
I
I'm not that mean.
think that last week was a much needed off week for the Blue Tornado. I can't even imagine. Yeah, they agree with me. I can't even imagine what practice must have been like this past week. I think that it's a business trip for them. They take care of business. Just 2-3 touchdown winner over Father Ryan.
Well, here at River City Sports, we like to show that doesn't matter where the game goes, we're going with it. Zach Kirby will be in attendance on Friday night as the McCauley Blue Tornadoes take on Father Ryan. Break me down that game. Who you like? What does Father Ryan have? You might maybe from past experience. Who you got in it?
Well, I had head coach Bruce Lucier the head coach of Father Ryan's football team was my teacher in high school all through the years. He is a relentless coach. He knows his system. He knows what he wants to do. He originally came from Oak Ridge in Knoxville, and then he came over to Father Ryan. He knows what he's doing with that program, and they're a growing program from 3 years ago when I was in high school there. They have a strong defense, which I think, not necessarily if you're going to stop McCauley or Trotter, but I think the biggest thing is containing Trotter. That's a big key to their game. I think that, the fact that it's at home is a big deal. Father Ryan always they have a good support group. They always bring a lot of people, huge crowd to their, new stadium that they've had. It's only about 5 years old, looks just like McCauley Stadium with turf and everything like that. But, I just think the biggest key is that Father Ryan at home needs to play this game at their pace. I think if it gets out of hand and McCauley starts playing at their pace and Trotter's able to get his yards on the ground, who knows if Father Ryan could let this game get away from them.
Good stuff. Teams on the bye this week. We have Brainerd sitting at 2-6, 3-2 in that. Well, 3-6, 3-2 in the district. Pardon that. But they're on their bye. Well, now it's that time, fellas. Ottawa 8-0, 4-0, number 1 seed in the state of 5A on the line. They host Cleveland in the homecoming. Cleveland for homecoming. 5-4 for 4-1. That might put some little fire under T.J. Parker and Austin Massey coming to Ottawa. Zach, tell me a little bit about this game and your pick. What you like about it?
Well, I think that Kelvin Leon gets it done for Ottawa. I think the fact that they have this at home, they've been on a roll this entire year. Momentum's on their side. I just think with Cleveland's struggles and their up and down season, I think that's just, it's kind of a distraction for this year for them. I think that Ottawa gets it done.
And Jake, who do you like in it?
Again, you gotta give me more time on this one. I got to decide on a helmet or a jersey on this one. You gotta get the other guys first. Ryan, what do you think?
Guys, it's been 2 different ways with Cleveland and Ottawa. Cleveland they've got 4 district wins. None of those 4 have been pretty. They've struggled to get those 4 wins. They squeaked by East Hamilton. They squeaked by Bradley. They squeaked by Walker Valley. Ooltewah hasn't had a team come within a couple scores of them. I don't think Cleveland comes within a couple scores of them either. I think Ooltewah rolls in this game.
Well, Taylor, we were in attendance at practice this week. Man, what do you like about them? We were at attendance at Ooltewah. We love to see Cleveland. We're going to try to get out there. What do you like about it? Concerns, strengths,
Yeah.
possibilities, the whole 9 yards. Who
Well,
do you got?
yeah, I do have some concerns. I'm going to save that for a second. Strengths from seeing them at practice today. That might be the most well-oiled machine or the most well-oiled practice that I've seen this year, moving at just a frenetic pace. They're running from inside drill to individual drills, then they run sprints, and then they go team, and then, Kelvin Leon's throwing passes, and it's just, you don't know where to go, you don't know who to follow, stuff like that, trying to keep up. But, like I said, there are some concerns. This week is homecoming week for the guys. We talked today to one of the coaches saying that today was Carnival Day. They'd been playing basketball since 9 in the morning today. I think if Ooltewah maybe is a little bit distracted going into this one, it could be, an upset, a sneaker that Cleveland gets away from them. I personally don't think that's the case. I really like what I saw from Ooltewah today. I think Kelvin Leon, as he's shown week in and week out, is one of the best quarterbacks in the area. Their defense is ferocious. I've seen them do the land shark every now and then, so they get after it, guys. I think Ooltewah wins this one fairly handily.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about what I think might go down. There's certain teams that you come across that you see them on paper and then you see them in real life, and you're like, Coach, who jumps off the page at you? Their whole team jumps off the page at you. You could say the same for Cleveland.
Yeah.
Austin Massey, 6'4", 220 quarterback. T.J. Parker, Raekwon Bunyan, Ben Rick leads the area in tackles. Eric Goodwin. This athletes are going to be phenomenal on the field Friday. But the one thing that has not changed from the moment I spoke in March with this Ooltewah team, preparation. Next week game.
Yeah.
Exactly. Talked just to Coach Drew Atkins, our offensive coordinator, today, and they've talked about it amongst their coaching staff about the playoffs. But this team is not preparing like they're an 8-0 football team. This team is preparing like they're 2-6 and need to scratch and nail and everything for that playoff season. I asked if they're looking into resting some people for the playoffs. No, they're prepared to try to go and push for that number 1 seed in the East. Fully prepared. It will be close. Don't be surprised if Ooltewah is down early in this game, but I think the Owls late pull it off. They take their undefeated record 9-0 into McMinn County next week that's been moved to a Thursday night, and I think the Owls get it done. That's as much as I can say. I like the Owls in this one. Jake, it's come that time, man. I've given you as much time as I possibly can. I can maybe give you a little bit more. Just you ponder it, because we have East Ridge versus Howard, East Hamilton at Bradley, and Ooltewah at McMinn's moved to Thursday, October 30th next week, to keep that in mind. But Jake, who you got in this one, Ooltewah or Cleveland?
I think he's made up his mind. Ooltewah.
You like Ooltewah.
Quiet as an owl right there.
You like Ooltewah.
Does anyone know the whoo, 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 whoo? I can't do it. That's why I tried not to do the animal, but not even close.
Not even close. Well, like always, we have to thank our proud supporters of Jefferson's Restaurant of Chattanooga, across from the courthouse. Also, it's come that time. Some teams are turning to basketball, or going to turn into basketball. Some are going to play off the football. We've had great athletes all in the area. Well, most of your athletes, you're going to want a highlight tape. Well, that's where our partners at Fresh Above Media Direction will come in handy. You contact Josh Mosley at famed_Inc. on Twitter. I mean, we've seen a lot of highlight tapes, fellas, and the guy's phenomenal. I mean, he's done TK or Todd Kelly Jr. up there at Knoxville. Also has done Vic Wharton, also playing at Knoxville. Dude's incredible. If you can tell, he does all our work. I wouldn't put it in anybody else's hands. So our proud supporters at Fame Media, Going to be a great show next week. We're going to talk some more basketball. Jake's got the hat backwards, guys. Like always, we're going to be out in the area, and we'll see you next week right here at Jefferson's of Chattanooga for the River City Roundup.